I just recorded like 10 minutes of me talking about this quartet that I've been doing. Microphone wasn't on. It's fine, it's fine. Welcome to my little corner of YouTube. I am Beatrice B. Morgan, BB Morgan. I'm a fantasy author, romantic fantasy mostly. I have dabbled in romantasy, I've dabbled in horror, although my horror has not been published. It might never be published, who knows? Because I left off last week on kind of a negative note, because I had finished my revision of that contemporary romantic horror that I detoured on, and I started out feeling really positive about it, and I ended feeling very not so positive about it, because it just is missing something, and I lost that spark somewhere in like the 75% mark, and I don't know if I am the author for this story, or if I'm not the author right now for this story. It might be in a couple years. I don't know. We'll find out. As of right now, it has been pushed to the back burner. It is going to sit there until I think about it again. And I jumped back into this high fantasy quartet that I was working on before my brain was like, hey, what about this book over here? And just to kind of recap on that, I had done a read through of book 1 and book 2, which were done and are done. And I wanted to focus on book 3 and 4 and get them finished so that we could do like another rapid release like we did with Stars and Bones. Book 3 needed some work. Book 4 was half finished. And I had done like 2.5 revisions of book 3. And the last draft I did of book 3, I made a major change about halfway through. I took a scene out and I kind of twisted it a little bit to give it a little more angst for the second half of the book. And anytime I do like a major change like that, I kind of want to let the book sit. And I couldn't, like, I knew there was something else that I just didn't quite like, but I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. That is the point in any given manuscript that I'm working on. That is when you set it aside. And I think moving to that romantic contemporary romantic horror was a good palate cleanser, because I came back into this quartet with a fresh, like, let's go attitude, and I jumped back into book 3. I don't remember if I had started working on it yet or if I was still working on the contemporary horror when I was in the shower, and I was thinking, because, you have any project that I'm working on is just in the back of my mind, constantly just spinning and trying to catch ideas for it. And I had this thought of, making the villain a little bit more fleshed out by eliminating the villain that I had, because this villain kind of comes out of nowhere. And one of the revisions that I did was trying to layer in some lore and backstory as we went, so it didn't just come out of nowhere. But then I was like, well, there's this other character that I mentioned in, like, book 2 that we don't really know what happened to. What if that's the villain of book 3, and this is what happened to her? And that single, like, little plot twist has been in my mind since then. And so in this revision, I was like, let's run with that. Why don't I run with that? And I ran with it. And it works. And it's so weird. It's like I, set the story up as if this was the thing the whole time, but I just didn't know it. And it's just so weird how that happens. And the change that I did before the last revision, I'm coming back to it, and I really like it. I feel like it works. It pushes the story forward a little bit more, like alongside the main plot. So that's a good feeling, knowing that I did good. And I've noticed as I'm going through this revision on book 3 that I am making very, very few notes for the next revision. And I think that's kind of the point where I know that a manuscript is getting close to being done, where I don't have any notes for myself in the future. It kind of goes back to my process of writing, where as I'm drafting, as I'm revising, I will leave notes for myself. Just little things to think about, like, what if this scene was in this location, or what if this scene happened after this scene, or after this plot twist. things like that. Just ways that I could possibly make the story better. And I'm not making those notes on this revision. I am not adding to the notes. I am clearing up the list of notes that I have. And that tells me that this revision that I'm on is very likely the last one. That is a weird feeling. And it doesn't matter how many books I've written and published. That feeling still stays. Just that weird knowing that the book is almost done. This book that I have spent years on. Because I think I wrote book one, or the first idea for book one came to me like 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. And now we're in 2026. So it's been 6 years. And I'm finally getting to that point where the book is done and I'm ready to pass it on. And this book is giving me such a headache. Not the biggest headache of all the books that I worked on, but it's just, there was a point where I didn't know how this book was going to end. I didn't know where it was going to go, how we was going to do it. And here we are. I have finished the draft, or I am finishing the draft. I'm really close to it. Just got to clear up the last 10 or so chapters. And I know it's going to feel really weird when I'm at this same point with book 4, where I'm like sitting there and going, okay, it's done. Now what do I do with myself? Because when I finished Stars and Bones and like let my publisher know like, hey, this book series is now done, that was a very weird feeling. Because I spent so long just eyeball deep in that story with the characters, with the lore, just building this world up. And then one day you're sitting there and it's like, oh, I'm done. It's over. Book series is over. And it's almost like that same feeling of after you get to the end of like a series that you're reading, you finally get to that last book and you're just like, oh, that's it. What do I do with myself now? Because you spend so long with the characters and the world, and it feels like it's almost like this weird sense of loss because there's nothing else. That's it. There's no other book to look forward to, and it's just, it's weird. So, on the positive side, book 3, looking good. Book 4, it's also looking good. Like, I sat down and I worked out the last, it's not act 3. There was a little bit of the act 2 that also needed to kind of be worked on. And I went through this whole panic of whether or not it was going to be 1 book or 2 books. And I really didn't want to have to make this a 5-book series. I didn't think I had enough for like a whole 5th book. And then I know you lie awake and you think about things. And it's like, well, what if I moved some of book 3 into book 4 and then some of book 4 into book 5? And I was like, no. This is a 4-book series. I can make it a 4-book series. That's my goal. I really want it just to be a 4-book series. Don't ask me why. I feel like it's a challenge to myself because I don't want to stretch a series further than it really needs to go for the sake of having more books in a series. I don't want to be one of those authors. I don't like when other authors do it. I don't want to be one of those. So if I just edit it nicely, book 4 will be just book 4. It will not be book 4 and book 5. But I'm not working on book 4 right now. I am working primarily on book 3. I'm making notes for book 4 as I go, just things to remember, like character names, things that probably should come back afterwards, which was really handy when I went through book 1 and book 2 so I could make notes for myself. Like, hey, this was mentioned in book 1. Does that ever come back? And if not, then I can just go back to book 1 and cut it, which is one huge plus to like doing a rapid release, because you can read all 4 books, and if there's some weird plot hole in book 4 that you didn't know about, you can go back to book 1 and fix it. Or if you come up with like a plot twist for book 4, you can go back to book 1 and book 2 and kind of thread some foreshadowing in there. So what's after this series? I don't know. No idea. I want to get to book 2, or the sequel to The Blood Enchantress, which follows the sister. Because as I have discovered with Stars and Bones, a series sells much better than a standalone. And especially if you can put one book, like the first book, book 1, at a major discount. Like the first book of Thief is free, and I get more follow through sales on Thief than I do on any other series or any other books that I have. It sells the best. And I think partially because book one is free, so you can, if you hate my writing style, well, then you're not out any money. You just move on with your time. But if you really like it, hey, you got the whole book for free. Woo! And I was also thinking that because 2026 marks 10 years since I published my first book, I was thinking of doing like a series of lessons that I learned over the course of 10 years. Then I try to make a list of those lessons, and like some of them are old basic, but they're just lessons that I learned, like having a tough skin. That one you can't like learn from like a book. Like you have to learn that one from experience, I think. Because as many times as I was told, you need a tough skin for this. Don't let people, get you down when they don't like your book. People will dislike your book. People will get real mean. I heard all of that advice. And yet when I got my first 1-star review that tore my book apart, I cried. Like legit felt miserable. Like I should just delete my everything and just move on because I was a failure. Kind of misery. Things like that. But again, I thought of it as like this afternoon, so it's still cooking. It's still got some cooking time left. But stay tuned for that if that is something you're interested in. Just learning, just seeing all the things that I got to learn in my 10 years of being an author is pretty exciting. Looking back on all the things that I've done, all the books that I've worked on, all the books that I published, all the books that I haven't published. There's quite a few. Like I have several that are just kind of sitting. But that was my little author journal update. Not very exciting, but I'm on more of a positive note than I was last week because I'm feeling very good, very positive about this quartet, especially book 3. And I do really like the series. I really like the characters. It feels different than Stars and Bones, but at the same time it also feels the same. I'll keep you updated with my fun little author journeys here. And hopefully the next time I do one of these hopefully next week, I will have even more news. Like I have finished book 3 and I'm on to book 4. But I don't like to like make proclamations like that because a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. Like how I said that I was gonna finish the quartet in December and then I was gonna move on to a whole new project and document the process with this author vlog that I started. Yeah, that didn't happen. No, not even close. I'm still working on it. And the new project that I wanted to work on, haven't thought about it since. That is how it happens. So I will see you in the next little talk that we have. What do I call these? Author vlogs? Blogs? Blogs? Well, I'll see you in the next one, whatever these things are.